Ruggedness is something that is more hard-earned. Facts are expensive, and establishing real patterns of success are expensive. They take a lot of energy. It takes commitment and focus for a lifetime. For good things to happen, for truly good things to happen, it takes a long time. It takes 1 second to decide to walk in that direction and be on the right path, but to, have it produce the full fruit it could, takes more than 5 minutes. And the system wants to manipulate our weaknesses, which is comfort and a need to lift up the ego, and wants to take that to convince us just to use these other superficial systems, because I can just pop in a videotape, and all of a sudden, when I leave the theater, when I leave Fast and Furious Part 6 or whatever the hell, I believe I'm Vin Diesel because I hold my arms like this when I'm driving my shit car out of the movie theater parking lot, just like, whoa, watch out for grandma. Watch out, people. I'm Vin Diesel. I just watched Fast and Furious. Look at me. I'm headed to the tattoo shop to get the car tattoo like Vin Diesel had in the movie. Because I'm literally Vin Diesel, the mechanic, mobster, tough guy that ramps wheelies on this black car with shiny wheels, just ramping it. That's me, because I watched the movie. I just superimposed the ruggedness program, like the Matrix, into my brain by watching a movie in the theater. Now I'm rugged because I watched it on TV. That's American ruggedness in 2022. Instead of being a homesteader, what do we do to be tough? Brand affiliation. I bought a Harley. And I like Harleys. They're fine. They're cool, right? I watched Steppenwolf. I watched Easy Rider. But if you identify with the brand name to be rugged, make them superficial. Yeah, Harley. That's how you be tough. You don't need to homestead. You don't need to take care of your wife and kids and not abandon them. You don't need to actually pay for your own shit. You need to go into debt and buy this Harley. That'll do it. Oh, really? You mean I can just buy some shit with my credit card and then I'm tough? Well, you got to watch the Harley movie to get the accent down right, because you got to look like this when you're driving it. Doo-doo, doo-doo. Well, that's upon a pay my bill. That's upon a pay my bill. Step inside, I'm waiting here for you. Listen to Black Label Society. Drive your Harley, get the cool goatee that's really sticking out like this, and then get a few tribal tattoos. Can get that down for, $40.99 per square inch or whatever at freaking Tattoo Mart. And now you're tough, you see, because you drew shit on yourself and you bought a Harley with your credit card and you have your pointy goatee and you listen to Black Label Society. Now you're rugged. Hey guys, Rex here. It is a idea to expect others to work for free. One of the problems with the United States is the reduction in the incentive for people to succeed. People want to sit in chairs and think they are entitled to things that they are not entitled to, and they think they automatically deserve things that they don't deserve. Then they'll claim helpless status and think that entitles them. Oh, I'm helpless though. How did this happen to our country? That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to continue the conversation that we started on Patreon, having to do with the rules for revolution. We just got through the major first point. That was a 40-minute upload over on Patreon. We did a version here on YouTube as well, introducing the topic. We're going to now talk about, still we're on plank 1. Last time we talked about corrupting the young, getting them away from religion. That's what we talked about last time. Just to recap, if you missed it, still over there on Patreon. And we did talk about it a bit on YouTube because it's an important message to get out there, guys. And share these videos, okay? Share these videos that I'm giving to you on YouTube, because we are sliding down the cliff now, and we have been for a long time. But how they've corrupted the young, and we discussed this in the last video, is through primarily the education system is one giant plank of that. They have reprogrammed, when they convince you to farm out your children to the education system, just like you can see in this damn books that's going on in the rest of the world, like where they see how overt it is, where they make everything all cute and nice and everyone's all dressed nice, and they pull them into this this filthy, terrible situation. The same is true for just the public education system on a spiritual level, because they are trying to corrupt the youth and give them a new operating system rather than the one their parents have programmed them with, that was given to us by the Almighty, called God's law. They don't like that, and communism cannot coexist. It will not work with people that are only subservient to the Creator and follow what He said to do, because those people already have their God, and it ain't the government. It is not the government. Well, that ain't going to work. That's not compatible with that. So what do? Infiltrate the school systems, starting 100 plus years ago, and they replaced the fundamental founding operating system that made America great with a new one, which has to do with, no, we weren't created. Our rights don't come from the Creator. They're not unalienable rights. Your rights come from the government, the smartest people, humanism. So they reprogram you with all the stuff, and I'm talking math, social studies, history, science, the whole 9 yards. Well, they would just learn science. Are you sure about that? What version of science are they learning? Have you been to school lately? I was shocked when I went back to college after I was out of high school for 8 years. And I went back to college, and that was a long time ago now. I was shocked. I was like, I knew this would be bad when I come back in here. I was kind of braced for it. They have totally established a solid push in the direction to tear down every possible brick. Any evidence of any kind of Creator, get rid of it. And that's one of the main filters they have in place in college too. 4 science degrees is what I did. Is, man, if you indicate that, hey, this system we're studying here seems complex, it's almost as if it's an ordered deal. Oh, hell no, you can't believe in that. What are you, some kind of guy that thinks God exists? And that's the overt manifestation of that philosophy. But I'm telling you, because I studied science for an education purpose originally, to teach it to kids, the education programs in of themselves are specifically designed to tell you how to push that on them in a subtle way that their parents will not be able to detect unless they're trained on exactly what's going on. So be careful. So that was the first video we did, okay? We're going to talk now about getting them interested in making them superficial and destroying their ruggedness. This is all part of plank 1. So plank 1 is corrupt the youth, get them away from religion, get them interested in make them superficial, and destroy their ruggedness. And we were talking about this last night a bit on, Patreon. With that, I was doing a JFK special where I explained where Jesse Ventura was wrong, at least on one major point in his analysis, that I'm pretty sure there's some fishy stuff going on in there. But during that conversation, we kind of ventured into what happened after JFK left, after he left the earth, and the slide that occurred culturally right at that same time that was allowed in through the gates, through the British invasion, particularly entertainment industry and the music industry, and how that was actually a infiltration for sure to, just like, what's the guy's name? Yuri Bezmenov? That's where a major push started. They allowed certain types of psychological magic into the culture that was specifically delivering the image of the inverse of ruggedness into the minds of American youth. And all of a sudden, boys quit being real boys, and they quit for sure being men. And they've substituted that. They've substituted the traits that a real man possesses with bullshit, pop culture, superficial, flag-type traits. I'm not saying he shouldn't have American flag or he shouldn't have, the jersey for America, but they reduced it to only that. They took away the ruggedness that people had in terms of dependency on the system. They took away the ruggedness people had about organizing their own shit, including their local political systems, their taxes, understanding that. They took away the ruggedness in being able to produce their own things. Took away the ruggedness and continued that one. Having like all the different regulations and rules that occurred that made it darn near impossible for you to legally exist completely outside the system in your own little deal. That big government monster, the monster that will not obey, like the Steppenwolf song says. Oh, there's an example of it. Big monster has basically been tightening the noose. There's a monster on the loose. He's got your heads into a noose and he just sits there watching. America, where are you now? Don't you care about your sons and daughters? Don't you guys know that we need you now? We can fight along against the monster if you know what the hell's going on here, okay? That's why we're here to help try to educate on how this takeover occurred and how it's happening now. Here's an example of how they've destroyed the ruggedness. Here's my proof. True ruggedness doesn't appear the way that we've been trained that it appears. I don't know if you can find someone in a nursing home who survived this generation, but true ruggedness existed with homesteaders. People that came out here and built a sod house and survived the winter and did not die and didn't need help from anyone except for their neighbors through relationships, through proper weights and measures and helping each other, mutual assistance. It wasn't entitlement. It wasn't, oh, pay me, I deserve it because I'm helpless. It was a mutual assistance understanding that I will help you, you will help me. That's where a commune can work with your neighbors and your family. That's where a commune works. Beyond that individual accountability and responsibility and pressure from your neighbors because they live right next to you, literally, it degenerates into an entitlement system where people volunteer to be freaking helpless. And I'll prove that that is happening here in the comments when you start reading them below. Start reading through the Rex Reviews comments section, man. There is not a lot of comments anymore. A lot of them I did finally run off. There's plenty still to go around. And they would have a conniption fit. Do you know what a conniption fit is? It's where you come completely unglued, arms flailing, throwing a fit like a baby, right? Have a conniption fit if they would ever find out that I actually am a cock. Yeah, you are a cock. You didn't know it. You thought you were a patriot because you have the flag, you have the tough guy t-shirt on, you drive a Harley, and you think you're rugged because the TV told you that if you do these things and have this certain hairstyle or this certain kind of tattoo or some whatever it is, that's ruggedness. They've substituted actual homesteader, God-fearing, pilgrim ruggedness with television bullshit. And you know it's true. Let me define socialism here. This is just pulled up. I said define socialism, okay? So that we can know what we're talking about. Socialism is a political and economic theory of social organization which advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole. So when it's talking about the community, it's talking about a national level or a state level. Again, this works with your neighbors if you have a common moral compass where you have the same standards, the same weights and measures, the same expectations, the same rules, not to be lazy and unproductive because of those standards have to be common standards. You both have to be working hard to help your neighbor. That could work on a community level, and the biggest one that could work is a small church. Okay? That's how that could work. And that's how they sold the idea, because they give you a micro example, but they don't tell you that the glue holding that together is the structured law system, the structured legal system, and with full expectations not to fail, because God said this is how we're supposed to work as brothers and sisters in Him. So it works in very, very, very tiny enclaves where everyone equally adheres to the laws of God. And where they fail, there are consequences, such as you get kicked the hell out of the village. Did you know that's how that works? In true, successful communes, okay, where people are exercising something like this effectively, did you know there are rules? And this is where communism on a national level always fails, because it's too big to keep track and have anyone accountable. Did you know that in the Bible, that if you are not being productive for your family and you can't have your own shit together, it doesn't say just to like, oh, we should just like feed you food. That's what Jesus would do. No, read what He did. No, read the instructions. What was actually said? What did He actually do? He said multiple times, He's like, these guys are poor in this way, but we're not here to deliver that. We're here to deliver them the truth, right? And the truth is, they would kick your ass out of the village if you were being lazy. If you were truly, hurt or truly crippled, that's where you have your beggars and stuff like that. And, people were charged in the book, by the way, in the real system, because we got to compare and contrast how the two are different, okay? In the real book, we are charged to take care of orphans and widows, not the freaking government, who could never possibly accomplish that. I think freaking the government's going to be able to handle that. I can't even handle the post office. This package, I dropped it. My sister just got a letter delivered from like 5 years ago. Like, oh, sorry, it's a little late. Like, oh, shit. Oh. But like, you think the government's going to take care of the orphans and widows? And if they could, would you want them to? How cold and impersonal and lonely must that be to have, we don't want to deal with it. Just let's farm it out to the freaking government. I mean, come on, man. We're charged with taking care of the orphans and widows. And for people that are truly hurting, like parents, that's why there's the commandment to honor thy mother and father. Did you know that's in the 10 Commandments? Honoring thy mother and father means taking them in when their leg finally goes out, or their knees, or they're finally too damn old to do anything. That's honoring your mother and father. You're not going to let them live in the gutter. No, I'll farm that out. The government will do it. They'll probably take it. I don't want to deal with this shit. Like, that's the ways of a different system there. So they've reduced our ruggedness why? So that if we're not rugged, then we're reliant on this national community, right? So there's a multitude of reasons why they've got us interested in sex to make us superficial, to destroy the ruggedness. We're going to talk about this a little more in a different angle too. Here's the deal. If you can't get your shit together enough to take care of you and yours, you're a communist. Rex, I can't afford to do anything. I'm sorry. Sometimes I've been laid up severely, and I figured it out. I had to change gears and learn new tricks to bring home the food, right? Here's a capitalist. Look at him, just trying to make money all the time. Yeah, right? We all need to do that. We all need to strive to succeed for our families. Not to go off the other end of the deal and freaking worship things and become, hoarders of crap, Babylonian crap, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about making ends meet as a successful male individual in the species Homo sapien. Kind of important. So, how did they destroy our ruggedness? I got a theory on that. And this is where, man, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what it all makes it here. Basically, in the 60s, Okay, and this happened, this was all paved way before that. But by the 1960s, they had John Wayne movies and World War II movies. And what did they do? They replaced actual ruggedness, which is the homesteader, the maintainer, the guy who creates things, who creates wealth, who builds farms, who builds sustainment systems, who figures out how to keep the chickens alive in the winter, who figures out how to guard the calves from freaking wolves. That's ruggedness. They took that guy and they replaced him in the minds of the youth, because they're corrupting the youth. They replaced it with John Wayne. And what are the attributes of John Wayne? Loud. And I love John Wayne, trust me. I've got all the movies. Like my favorite movie, The Sons of Katie Elder, one of my favorites. What's the other one? El Dorado is just so classic. I love those movies. I am a child of John Wayne movies, trust me. Like, I spent a long time as a kid watching that shit with my pa, like, oh, it's pretty tough there, like fighting guys with guns. So the attributes of John Wayne: loud, right? Extremely confident. But what does he do for work? Fighting, cowboy fighting, projecting toughness, arguing with people, participating in discord. Sometimes he's fighting off bad guys. We're the bad guys in the John Wayne movies. The successful business guy, he's taking over the town. He wasn't nice to Ma's. Well, if the kids were too shitty to obey the commandments and help their ma with the farm, because they're out, I'm referring to the Sons of Katie Elder as an example. It's because it's the perfect example of most of those movies and how they really work. So the kids don't take care of ma. So ma loses the farm to this successful business guy in town who happens to want to defend his assets for his family, so he hires gunmen. Well, that guy's evil because, we didn't take care of ma, and then this guy, and the bank, paid for her to barely live, and they let her live in some old house on the other side of town, rather than having a farm. We better probably go kill that guy. John Wayne's a in the Sons of Katie Elder. And the kids are entitled. Oh, we deserve the farm. Well, then why didn't you sustain it? Why weren't you there working for it? Where did you go? You had to go run off. One of them was a gambler. John Wayne's a gunfighter. And the other kid was going to get sent off to college. It's propaganda. Follow the people who wrote the script in Hollywood. For God's sakes. You just put a cowboy hat on it? Put a cowboy hat on it. Oh, that's patriotic there. John Wayne did a pro-World War II movie, Rex. He did a pro-Vietnam movie too, right? Yeah, that must prove that he's not a there, right? Fighting for Johnson's wife's helicopter funds. Join the disposable heroes, so that you can defend freaking Johnson's wife's helicopter freaking... What is war in the 20th century and this century? Packing the pockets of the elite political class. And I'm talking the elite communist, socialist political class that has infiltrated and taken over the United States. Because that's how they expand and thrive. You know why they took down the Berlin Wall? Not because communism was over, because had already gotten over the wall and infiltrated and spread. We might be, and this might blow your freaking minds, we are more than the countries that were in the 60s. How dare you? Red, white, and blue flag. You tell me it's not as now define the... People are having conniption fits over that, aren't they? Why? Don't like the truth. You have to define your terms. And if you don't admit you got a disease, you're going to die from it. You already have died from it. Define entitled culture that doesn't want to actually succeed and work. They depend on Uncle Sam for all the shit they need for their defense, for their, like, oh, the farmers need like free money and like everyone needs free money. Rex, how dare you say things about the farmers? You have gone to school for too long. Too much schooling, not a clue on individual accountability, individual, you and me, accountability to our own ship. You know that it's not our individual success or failure doesn't depend on luck or chance, like the communists would want you to believe, because then you're going to hate people who succeed. If you hate people who succeed, what commandments of the Bible are you violating? Thou shalt not covet. If your neighbor goes out and busts his ass 19 hours a day to get what he has, and you hate him for it, and you don't think he deserves it because, well, where's mine? Go out and do what he did. It's not luck. It's the sum total of the decisions we have made that puts us where we are. It's math. Math is the blade that cuts through the bullshit. Facts, not feelings. Also will operate on feelings to manipulate you into burning down the old system, which is individual accountability, and capitalism, which is where people will try to be successful for their own family, and they get to keep their hard-earned fruit. There's scripture, if you guys want the deal, right? It says that like the workman deserves his pay. When you work, you get paid. In America, that's not how people feel anymore. Even here on YouTube, read the comments. I'm telling you, it's ridiculous. What is that? I have to pay for my cheeseburger? Yeah, pay for your cheeseburger, man. You gonna pay for your cheeseburger or not? Well, I just should have it for free. Okay, well, I don't know, like, the tone around here changed, Rex. Like, what are you trying to, like, how are you trying to survive and have a job? Like, dude, like, I'm telling you, it absolutely exists. So they make them interested in sex. Do you know why? They're hammering us, and this is by design. You know Bruce Jenner? Took that and they amplified that and they projected it onto the world. Oh, the world needs to see this, don't they? Yes, they do. Why? Because it's a plan that works in other countries. We did it to Russia through music, and they did it to us through some of this stuff and through their versions of music too. Psychological operations, man, long-term plans that are drawn up on paper in the white papers that you can read. People don't read anymore. You know what people do for reading? And I can tell this too by reading some of the comments and by just observing what people talk about. They'll watch a 5-minute video clip that's supposed to be a study, that's all pre-digested, made with graphics and whatever. And then they'll think they read the book that clip is talking about, and then they'll start hammering with you with, well, haven't you read this? Do you know how superficial and retarded that is? Like, I think it was, God bless him, Jones. One of his guys there on his TV channel does these history reports on different things, talking about different historical racial deals. They put out one deal, and all of a sudden everyone and their dog starts quoting from the video, not from the book. I read the damn book. They quote from the video. And they got it upside down and inverted wrong. They like never questioned the shit they were reading because they didn't read it. They just start quoting it. What are you talking about, Rex? Doesn't matter. Take this as in all categories of different walks of life. We don't actually participate. We mirror what we hear someone saying that tickles our ears because they have destroyed our ruggedness to the point to where we want to just absorb. We've been taught to be delivered by the education system and by pop culture, be delivered these prefabricated packages of philosophies, ideas, dispositions, and different like tidbits in history. Like, oh, you want to know about this particular, country or this whatever thing that existed once? Here's everything you need to know. Watch out who's handing that shit to you. If you do not look into it yourself, if you do not actually study and test things and verify them or prove them wrong, you're just grabbing random shit off of my videos or anyone else's videos without actually confirming it. And then, oh, here we go. This is what I believe. I can tell from the signature and the fingerprint of the communication because I watched the video too. It's like, what's one of these late night comedians, John Oliver or Jimmy Kimmel. People who are intelligent, who are my friends, who I don't think are susceptible to this. They'll come up with some recent event, whether it be, Bitcoin or whatever the local news is of the day. And if the entire news is really pushing something, that should be an indicator to somebody. But they'll have it packaged by John Oliver or Jimmy Kimmel using comedy as a weapon to infiltrate your brain. Be careful of that one, right? I'm telling you. They'll use that to put these ideas, whatever the local, we need everyone in the United States on board on this issue right now, just for a minute. And then once that issue goes the way they want it, then they terminate it. They forget about that shit. But you sit down in a restaurant with some friends and they're like, oh yeah, this one issue, blah, blah, blah. And they're saying what Jimmy Kimmel said or what freaking John Oliver said with the same jokes, the same inflection of voice, or they'll repeat like Bill Hicks, the comedian. Like some of his main points he made are very true in some ways. A lot of the stuff he said is very true, but a lot of it is poison too. Because everyone's not right on everything. But if you are grabbing superficial little tidbits and sound bites and just redistributing them, you are literally a little slave robot reprogrammed by Babylon and to simply get input of information from approved media. Approved media? Is this the channel I like? Yes, here's the key. Okay, I will duplicate this exact thing and just pass it everywhere because I'm a freaking robot and I have no clue what the hell's going on. The founding fathers did not operate that way, I'm telling you. Did you know that they didn't have internet and TV and pop culture and social media and all that shit to destroy their brain? And be careful with everybody, including myself. I'm here to try to explain how this is dangerous, right? Someone wants to use it for evil, they will destroy you, okay? Be careful. The founding fathers lived in a time when there was lamps and candles. And when it was wintertime, it got dark early, and they would sit there, and they couldn't farm anymore in the fields, so they would just sit there in their candlelight, and they would study, and they would think. They would sit in a quiet place, because there's no motors, no motorcycles, no snowmobiles, no freaking TV going in the background, no radios, no record players, no Jurassic Park movie playing in the background for 50,000 times in a row. They would sit in the quiet, and they would have conversations with their children, raising them up in the 3 R's themselves, reading, writing, arithmetic, so that they can employ math and language to actually harden their positions that they constructed out of ideas they had. And they would study the eternal law so they could demand more of man's law and get it more like the Almighty's. And they created the United States of America. They drafted the Declaration of Independence. They had brains. Do we? Unfortunately, we've been programmed to only take prepackaged entire giant chunks, like in the blister wrap from Walmart. Like, oh, here's your new operating system. You are a Democrat. You are a Republican. Here's prepackaged shit for you. Latch on to Rush Limbaugh or Rex or whoever. Latch on to this character here and don't have any thoughts of your own. God forbid. And just whatever this package is, it's already made. After all, you just want to be comfortable, right? You just want to sit there and that's how they got us. Okay? So let's go on a little more here. So they get you interested in sex. Why did they do that? Here's my theory. The long-term plan is they're going to get us so twisted and out of whack, which they are now. They're going to move on with their Who's really the boss of your church? Look into it. They got you to focus on church rules. Again, anything to get you away from his actual rules, they pull you away from those actual rules that he said, because that frees you from all the people on this level. There's vertical alignment where you submit to him and that's it. And then there's horizontal alignment, which is where the world tries to boss you around. That's where your tyrant's workspace is. The horizontal alignment going this way. Vertical alignment is adherence to what he said to do. If you're aligned to him and you're attached to him, there ain't shit they can do. The second they get you off of that, then you can get swayed around by the freaking mosh pit of the world. They'll take you in any direction you want to go or don't want to go. Very, very dangerous. So you got to be careful of that deal too, right? I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of depth and breadth to how they figured this out. But yes, they do want to destroy. In such a way to where you eventually use it to destroy our minds so we can run into the jaws of the real trap. And then they have you because you're already broken and they program everything they want into your brain. And then later, once everyone's submitted, they just cut that off. They want robots. They don't want humans. Right? Make them superficial. Instead of being a homesteader, what do we do to be tough? Brand affiliation. I bought a Harley. And I like Harleys. They're fine. They're cool, right? I watched Steppenwolf. I watched Easy Rider. But if you identify with the brand name to be rugged, I mean, Rex, why are you saying the naughty word still? I just told you, be careful of what your church kept you busy doing with the projector program of singing, not reading. Show me the prohibition where you can't use strong language. Jesus used strong language to make his point. He used way stronger language than I've used so far in this video. Guys, man, I'm telling you, it's so frustrating. Nobody reads. Everything we know is through the projector. Everything is that life is a freaking circus. I agree with Howard Buell on that one. Is that his name? Network. See, I had to use a cultural, like pop cultural video point to get the point across, right? That's how we degenerated so far, man, isn't it? Like, oh yeah, Howard Beale, I remember that movie. Like, the point of the Howard Beale movie was to tell you to quit watching so many movies. Here we are on a movie talking about it, right, guys? I'm telling you, it's a powerful weapon for good or for evil. Be careful. Make them superficial. Yeah, Harley, that's how you be tough. You don't need to homestead. You don't need to take care of your wife and kids and not abandon them. You don't need to, actually pay for your own shit. You need to go into debt and buy this Harley. That'll do it. Oh, really? You mean I can just buy some shit with my credit card and then I'm tough? Well, you got to watch the Harley movie to get the accent down right, because you got to look like this when you're driving it. Doo-doo, doo-doo. Well, that's upon a pay my bill. That's upon a pay my bill. Step inside, I'm waiting here for you. Listen to Black Label Society. Drive your Harley. Get the cool goatee that's really sticking out like this. And then get a few tribal tattoos. Can get that down for, $40.99 per square inch or whatever at freaking Tattoo Mart. And now you're tough, you see, because you drew shit on yourself and you bought a Harley with your credit card and you have your pointy goatee and you listen to Black Label Society. Now you're rugged, see? Or if you're from Homie Land, I don't have a homie hat, damn it. You put on your hat sideways, see? And then you wear pants that are 10 times too big and you put those on and then you kick back homie, because for some weird dialect reasons that I can't understand, scientifically we've determined that in inner cities with all the pollution, that shit makes you rugged. Look at me, I'm leaning on a dumpster with my homie pants on, because I got my, what do they call these? These giant, huge, they press their pants. One of my bros who grew up in that land was showing me that. It's I'm what the hell kind of deal is this? They press their pants, and then they size 60 pants on some skinny guy, and then he leans on a dumpster with his, shirt on, and then he's tough, Damn. Man, now you gotta admit, that's way tougher than what the Amish do. Farming and living by themselves. If only they could be convinced to have rifles. Then they'd be a freaking problem. Oh, boy. Oofda. How else can you be tough? How else can you just be tough automatically? How do they make you superficial to destroy your ruggedness? You see, if you think you're tough because you bought it with a credit card and you drive a certain brand of thing and you're leaning on a garbage can a certain way with your certain shit on, if you think you're tough because you executed what the system told you to do to be rugged, or put on your grunt style shirt, and I have them. Like, you got the flag here, you see, right? And you got this other stuff. Oh, man, now I'm a tough guy in the veteran category because I identify as a grunt. If you were a grunt, okay, but you understand the concept. I'm not saying it's bad, but if you just wear the attitude and the t-shirt, putting on a t-shirt doesn't make you tough. That's how they destroy ruggedness, by handing you bullshit ruggedness, and then you're happy with it. Yay! How do you test it? That's what we've been doing on Patreon so much, is training to identify these traits and root them out and dig them out and pull them out. Like a weed. Pull them out, throw them on the freaking garbage and burn them. Okay? Or some weeds are actually nutritious if you fold back the little hairs on the leaf and get the acid off of it. And then you can cook it a certain way, steam it or whatever. And just have a Green Beret come over and show you about the weeds in your yard. He'll be like, that's delicious if you eat it properly. It's not good right now, where it's at. But I'm telling you, you need to learn how to identify these things. And if they're in the wrong spot or if it's a problem, we need to deal with it. Real training is hard and nobody wants to participate in it because it's difficult. Very hard, and we don't want to submit to being corrected, especially on these deep levels, especially in terms of our identities, man. It's funny because all of us tough guys over here give the other side shit because they don't know what identity they are. They take on identities of shit they ain't, right? Oh, those people are crazy, Rex. I identify as a tough guy. What the did you do that was tough? Tell me. Better yet, show me. Show me through your actions and the fruit of your life. Tough guys. There are indicators you can find that are telltale indicators to see if they're exhibiting actual communist traits that can be quantifiable and verifiable so that you don't get pulled into the shit with your family. You have to study the non-counterfeit money so that you can recognize the counterfeit. People have counterfeit ruggedness all the time. You will not be able to identify it if you do not know the real deal. So truly becoming rugged and understanding what the real operating system looks like is key to identifying the bullshit one. Because once you actually get a chance to embrace the real image of what we are supposed to be as men, once you see what that is, the rest is just it's like a grandfather walking into a bunch of little kids playing cowboys and Indians with sticks, and they think they're really cowboys. It's kind of cute in a way, but it's not so cute when they're 40 and 50 and 60 years old, still playing cowboys and Indians, thinking that that's really, that they're, oh man, they're dead serious about that shit. What in the hell? Still collecting childhood toys and trinkets, still entertained by childhood games rather than by keeping track of your area and making sure everything's good there for the long-term succession of your family and them being safe where they're at, establishing a survival system for the family in a way that they can actually live with for a long term. I'm telling you, man, it's ridiculous. Destroying the ruggedness. They hand you a John Wayne movie. Here's you go. There's this, just put on a cowboy hat. Now you're tough. And repeat that you're from Texas. Automatically tough. Just right there. That's it. And if you're triggered by these comments, you are weak. Because it's funny, right? And it's true. You know the guy I'm talking about. Not everyone from Texas. I know there's actual cowboys from Texas, real ones that work on ranches. But if you just walk around with the hat and identify as one because you went to the Neon Armadillo and watched John Wayne, and I bought this Western shirt and I talk like a cowboy, doesn't make you tough. Your ruggedness is superficial and artificial and bullshit, and I can see that you're naked. What to do. The first step is to see what they've done to us and to realize you're not going to put on clothes until you realize it. You're not going to put on real clothes until you realize that you don't have any on right now, that we're naked. It's showing. Your communism is showing. And I'm not talking to all of you. I think most of you are thinking of somebody. Most of you are thinking of somebody that this definitely applies to. Well, how do you fix them? Well, you can't just straight up yell at them, right? I'm here to coach you through the process of identifying that shit first. Then we can talk about how to maybe fix it. Maybe. Depends on if they can handle it. It's a tough shift, man. It takes years, and then you're just beginning on the path, not even that way far down it. But most of you know somebody who this applies to. And so what I'm here to do is try to equip you as best as I can with some of the identifying features of a fascist and how they've destroyed us with their rules for revolution and where we're at. If you don't admit where we're at, it ain't going to work. And just walking around waving an American flag at a barbecue on the 4th of July saying how I love America and we need to have more army tanks and make it great again, wearing a red hat does not make you rugged either. Ruggedness is something that is more hard-earned. Facts are expensive, and establishing real patterns of success are expensive. They take a lot of energy. It takes commitment and focus for a lifetime. For good things to happen, for truly good things to happen, it takes a long time. It takes 1 second to decide to walk in that direction and be on the right path, but to, have it produce the full fruit it could, takes more than 5 minutes. And the system wants to manipulate our weaknesses, which is comfort and a need to lift up the ego, and wants to take that to convince us just to use these other superficial systems, because I can just pop in a videotape and all of a sudden, when I leave the theater, when I leave Fast and Furious Part 6 or whatever the hell, I believe I'm Vin Diesel because I hold my arms like this when I'm driving my shit car out of the movie theater parking lot, just like, whoa, watch out for grandma. Watch out, people. I'm Vin Diesel. I just watched Fast and Furious. Look at me. I'm headed to the tattoo shop to get the car tattoo like Vin Diesel had in the movie. Because I'm literally Vin Diesel, the mechanic, mobster, tough guy that ramps wheelies on this black car with shiny wheels, just ramping it. That's me, because I watched the movie. I just superimposed the ruggedness program like the Matrix into my brain by watching a movie in the theater. Now I'm rugged because I watched it on TV. That's American ruggedness in 2022. What a freaking travesty. If you want the full conversation we had on specifically how the pop culture was infiltrated after the JFK deal, and I give you my full commentary as a rifleman on what Jesse Ventura's analysis was on that and what kind of the different theories have on how that happened. And with Oswald specifically from that firing position, I talk about that in detail on last night's post on Patreon because it was the anniversary of JFK last night. If you want to watch that, at the end of that, I go a lot more into how specifically that infiltration right after he left came in the pop culture through music and rearranged all of our Jenga sticks in our mind and constructed a house of cards in the psyches of American youth. Between the Beatles and John Wayne and rap guys and all the other stuff, they pretty much delivered the lethal fatality blow on America. And unless we snap out of it, and if you feel called to want to participate in this battle, I welcome you to join us in that battle. And here we are. Now here's the deal. Read the comments. How many people are bitching already about being entitled to other people's labors and wanting to exhibit the traits of a communist to just be, well, just Rex, just give me the JFK video for free because I deserve it because I'm sitting in my chair. I couldn't find my wallet, Rex. My back hurts. I can't work because my back hurts. Therefore, I deserve shit. Been reading Lenin, huh? Okay, that's fine. I'm telling you, there's a lot of communists in the things here. True men understand labor, and if you work hard for your labor at whatever you actually do for your job, those of you that are awesome here, and I appreciate the patrons, you'll understand how hard I work for my labor too. So, and it's also what they call a paywall filter for children not to be able to get into there and pollute the conversation with their children's shit, their childish shit. I don't want to hear it. That's why there's paywall filters at Patreon. So if you want the full details on that aspect of the battle space and the JFK thing, which is extremely entertaining, I'll put links below and you can come catch us on Patreon. I love you guys. Thanks for bearing with me. I hope that everyone else enjoyed this video because there's no paywall on this one, man. I'm letting you see, well, there might be some edits in it. There might be some edits on it. I had to take some of the stuff out. The full unedited version of this will also be on Patreon. I'm not going to put it here just for everyone to I didn't do anything, but I'm going to be offended now at what Rex said that was too scary. It'll all be over there. Thank you for your support. If you ever want to support us, check it out. Also, I'll put some links below for some of the stuff I think that's a good deal this year. If you're looking for, if you're looking for equipment that's in my genre that I know about, I'll put some of the links down below. There's some good deals going on. Blah, 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 woof, woof, woof. The main deal is that you guys made it to the end of the video, and there's plenty here to work with, to chew on and think about and evaluate. All right? You guys have a blessed Thanksgiving, okay? That's one of my favorite American holidays because it is an echo. It's what the Pilgrims are trying to do. They read the Bible to figure that one out. Also talk about that one over there too. Thanksgiving is a biblical holiday where they were trying to execute what they read with the fall feast of tabernacles. So I think it's a great one. Hey, we'll do another day of that. Well, another day of that that's approved by Uncle Sam. That's fine. That's cool. So have a good Thanksgiving. Be thankful for what we do have. Okay? Be thankful for what you worked hard for too. And don't let anyone around that table lay any on you and get away from it scot-free. Okay? Okay? All right, Rex out. If you're looking for rugged precision in your long-range optics, check out Arc Optics. They still have a deal going on the SH4 Generation 2 scopes. I use these on everything from 50s down to 22 rifles. They're excellent scopes. Very, very rugged, very precise. They have all the features. Check them out. I will leave a link below. Save $170 if you include the combo pack or use the link to support the channel.